Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Yeah, just a brilliant 90 minutes. That's all I would ask for. Just 90 minutes, not a half, not half an hour. Just a full 90 minutes would be marvellous. No, I know that's incredibly rare. I know it's even the best teams don't play incredibly well for 90 minutes, but it would just be nice to have more than a half. Yeah, we'll dive into that in a minute. I should say straight from the off, I have come from the dentist. So I've been waiting for, when they numb up your mouth and everything, I've been waiting for it to kind of dissipate a little bit because I don't really feel like doing a video where I'm just dribbling out one side of my mouth. I mean, maybe that's what I do normally and I'm not realising, but I just thought it might not be the best look. You might not want to listen to what a man is saying when he's dribbling in your direction. That sounds weird. I don't know where I was going with that. Before we get into it as well, I just want to thank the people that came to the Q&A event with the Supporters Trust in the week. If you weren't aware, there were 4 of us reporters were doing this little event in London for the Trust charities, essentially. It was myself, Dan Kilpatrick from the Evening Standard, Jay Harris from The Athletic, and George Sessions from the Press Association, or PA, I think it's just called nowadays. It was really good fun. We had a laugh. We were kind of warmed up as it went on, thanks to the very good questions that the crowd were giving us. Some quite tricky ones in there, quite difficult ones, which were good. Some fun ones. Met some really nice people. Some of who watch these videos as well. A very nice chap and his wife chatting to me throughout the interval. They were very pleasant. And yeah, it was good. Although I got a little bit stitched up by the photos that the Trust put out, where they had the other 3 guys all like, microphone up, mid like, yes, here's some really witty, intelligent stuff. And then the photo of me was just like cradling a beer. It was just like I was the bloke in the corner of the bar who just turned up to watch. Yes, I'd like to think that didn't entirely capture the night, but it's fine. It's fine. There are photos that exist of me holding the microphone and talking. It was good. It was good. I did one last year, and weirdly, I did one back in 2017, and someone pointed out to me after this current one that when you did that one, you were telling people you're the new kid on the block kind of thing, the new newbie in the bunch, and here I am now. Although I think Dan's still covered them a little bit longer than me, but certainly feel like a bit of an old hand with everything that's passed in those years. Tottenham Hotspur, as I told the crowd, never a dull moment, which as a journalist is certainly interesting. But yeah, the game itself, it was the classic cliched game of 2 halves. It just was. Spurs very, very, very fortunate to get in at half-time with just a 1-0 deficit. They really were. I don't think anyone would have complained had they gone in 2 or 3 goals down at the break. But then, likewise, Man City were very, very lucky to get to the final whistle with the 1-goal deficit and not having given away any points to Spurs, because it was that kind of game. It was. There's people out there I can see, my brief glimpse across social media, that just kind of want to be angry about the whole match. The whole match was terrible. It wasn't. It just wasn't. The first half was terrible. Absolutely. If you want to have gripes, aim it squarely at that first half. Second half, there was a lot of good stuff in it. Unfortunately, none of that good stuff contained putting the ball in the net, which is quite an important thing. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was a terrible night's performance. It was just a poor first half. And unfortunately, we've heard that a few times this season. And it was interesting watching the 2 managers as well, because they're quite close. They are. When they had a good laugh before the game as well. And when the full-time whistle blew, they came together, and at first we thought they were having a little bit of a kind of a whinge about something at each other, but it wasn't. They were laughing and hugging and all that sort of stuff. Postecoglou was kind of, I think it was Dave Heiner from The Guardian, tried to kind of get out of him what they were saying, and he was like, well, I'm not prying. And Andrew went, well, you are prying. And then he just said something along the lines of, just 2 managers discussing a game or something like that. But yeah, you had that, but then Guardiola went across the pitch, and as he was kind of doing his thing that he talks to all the players, he did the other thing he often does, which is have a very animated chat with an opposition player. It's a bit of a habit of his. So he went over to Djed Spence, and he was kind of playfully slapped him in the face and was like poking him in the chest repeatedly, which, yeah, I mean, obviously, any kind of opposition managers is probably thinking, well, what are you doing there? Leave him alone. Leave him alone. Don't touch, kind of thing. Don't put any ideas in his head. Especially Djed, who's been so terrific, of course, since he's come into the team. And he was asked afterwards in his press conference, I think it was Jay actually from The Athletic, asked him, what were you saying to Djed Spence? And he said, why do you run, why you, I want to say, it's exactly his words. This is why I'm struggling with it. So I'm going to say it in his words. Imagine this in his kind of Spanish accent, right? I'm not doing a Spanish accent. Why you run too much should be more calm. So the impact, I mean, a doggy is quite similar. The pace of this team, it's difficult. Maybe Liverpool are better, but Bergvall, every time he has the ball and runs, unstoppable. Spence, Pedro Porro, Udogie, Kulusevski, Son, an incredible physical team with a clear idea to play. They play really good and they play without Romero and Van de Ven, two of maybe the best central defenders in the league. The game, it was open second half because we didn't close the first. In this stadium, always they have 20 to 25 minutes, and second half we suffered. But we should be closed in the first one. That was the problem. It happened many times this season that we give away an unbelievable amount of goals, and up front there are many games like Champions League at Sporting where we should be 3-1 up or 4-1 up in the first half and we lose 4-1. Many times that happened, but today, fortunately, it finished good. Yes, it didn't finish good for Tottenham, unfortunately. And I think it was disappointing as well because obviously it came after 3 Premier League wins on the trot. And it felt like getting a bit of momentum up the table. And then, yeah, a bit of a stumble and a trip. And, yeah, I mean, look, yes, the first half was poor. Second half, even I'd say without Sonny, Kulusevski and Spence having come on, it was much, much better and really dangerous. There was kind of a point where they were waiting ages to come on, those three, and Sarr as well, actually. And it was almost like, do we actually want to disrupt the rhythm at this moment? Because Spurs really are pressing, and Maddison was playing well at that point, starting to orchestrate things. And yeah, I mean, they eventually did get on, but the whole second half performance for me was more like the Spurs that Postecoglou is kind of trying to bring into the team. Aggressive, forward thinking. It was so much better. But unfortunately, if you're not going to put the ball in the net, I do think we're going to talk about it later, but that's where Solanke plays that second half. I mean, Solanke plays at all in that game. I think Spurs win it, to be honest. I just think it's a completely different game with him and the pitch. Kind of saw the difference that Haaland made to City, and I think Solanke is maybe even more important to Spurs than Haaland is to City, because obviously City have these other kind of ways of attacking, whereas for Spurs, I just feel like Solanke is just a key part of the jigsaw, the cog in the machine that makes it all work. But yeah, what was one thing about the team's performance as well was that young lineup, and especially how well they did early in the second half. That was the youngest Tottenham starting lineup in the Premier League for 33 years. Average age, 23 years, 243 days. The only time they've put out a younger team in the Premier League was for a game against Sheffield Wednesday in 1992, when that average age was 23 years and 97 days, which is very young. So yeah, Postecoglou was asked about it afterwards. He said, it's disappointing to lose again, and that's the main feeling. But it did look more like us today, at least from my perspective. We were really relentless. We played aggressive football. We took it to a very good opponent. We never tapered off at all. If anything, bringing the guys on made us stronger towards the end of the game. Disappointing to lose, but I think you see the benefit of us being refreshed and going into a game well prepared. That level of performance in the second half, we can begin to get consistent with that, then we will be able to push on. Guardiola, in his actual TNT Sport interview, was really full of praise as well, acknowledging that Spurs are starting to get players back now. He said, this is one of the best depth of squads I've ever seen. The manager is exceptional. Kulusevski, Son, Spence on the bench, and when they come with their impact, and the players in the first half were brilliant too. Sorry, first parts were brilliant too. They're a fantastic team. So the front three on the day were Odobert, Tell and Johnson. Age of those guys, 20, 19 and 23 is a very young attack. Of course, kept the three kind of, I say big names. I think Spencer's become a big name in recent months because of how well he's played for Spurs. I think if I'm completely honest, and I always try to be in these, if I'm Man City and I'm their players and I'm looking at the Spurs starting lineup and I see that Son and Kulusevski in particular are out of the team, bearing in mind the damage those two have caused to City over the years, I'm probably thinking, thank goodness for that. And then I'm also looking at Djed Spence not playing and knowing how good he's been recently, and I'm probably thinking, okay, that's one less worry. It did feel like something of a missed opportunity in that respect. That City a bit low on confidence. They'd had a couple of tough results against Liverpool, Real Madrid, and on the whole, of course, they haven't been the City of old. And you kind of think that we played those from the start. Could it have been a different story? You don't know for sure, but I would imagine the odds are higher, of course, that it could have been a different story. And I think, look, he'll never publicly admit it, but I would be surprised. Look, how do I put this? It definitely felt like to me that Postecoglou was prioritising the Europa League match against Alkmaar next week, even though there's 8 days between the games. It just kind of, I don't know, he may think that's ridiculous, so 8 days, how could you kind of prioritise one or the other? And his reasoning for doing it was about building up the minutes and sharpness of the players like Johnson, Odobert and Udogie, because there's this little run coming up of Thursday, Sunday games again. The 4 games in March are all Thursday, Sunday. I think it's 4 games within the space of 11 days. 2 Alkmaar ties, obviously, and Bournemouth at home, Fulham away. So, yeah, it's. I do kind of get it from that side. It just still felt like a missed opportunity for me. And he believed that Odobert, Johnson and Udogie could all do the job asked of him. And to be fair, if they'd started the game in the way they started the second half, that would have been proved right. And had, I guess, Son, Kulusevski and Spence come on and save the day, and then you could say, okay, well, it worked, didn't it? Even if he had to bring them on in the 67th minute to kind of save the day, ultimately he managed to give them a bit of a rest, get some others minutes, and they won the game. But obviously the result changes everything. The result completely changes the way it's painted, and rightly so, to be honest. I mean, some people are asking, why couldn't you have rested those 3 players against Ipswich? I think the issue with that was probably Odobert wasn't ready to play an hour of football at that point. Kind of had another week or so of training, didn't it? 3-4 days of training to kind of get his levels up before putting him into that. And Udogie and Johnson did, of course, start that game as well. It was Pedro Porro who's the one that got the rest because he's played the most minutes this season. I put it to him that kind of, I guess, try to be helpful rather than just saying, you wanted in Europe, didn't you? You want to win that. You don't even care about the Premier League. I put it in a slightly different way to see what kind of response he'd come out with. I just said, so was it just Son, Kulusevski and Spence's turn to have a rest today? And he was like, he didn't like that. He was, no, it wasn't their turn. But like I said, he didn't go like, no, it wasn't their turn. It was more like, no, it wasn't their turn. But like I said, it's just there's no point having a squad. And I don't know why I was doing that. There's no point having a squad. And I can't be here sitting bemoaning not having a squad and then not using it when I do. I think that would be highly hypocritical of me, but we needed Destiny, Brennan and Wilson to play today and get some minutes. Decky, Sonny and Djed have played an enormous amount of time, so having them have a little bit of a recovery and a breather I thought was going to be helpful for us. But more importantly, now I've got 3 more players who are getting close to, well, I mean, it's 90 minutes for Brennan. That's the first 90 minutes for quite a while. We're going to have some real options which we're going to need because we've got Europa and League back-to-back now, and we need as many bodies available for that as possible. So I get that. I absolutely get that. I think it's just a bit of a disappointment that it had to happen against City. But like I say, it could have easily gone the other way if they'd have sorted that second half out, as in they're finishing in the second half. So yeah, first half was not good. It really was not good. We kind of were going in at half time, and a few of us regular journalists were like, they've got to half time, and it did. It kind of felt a little bit psychological for City that they didn't take the chances they had in the first half. Spurs just struggled to keep the ball in the City half and just kept letting it come back at them. Whatever Postecoglou said at half-time, and the way Bergvall's interview on Spurs play afterwards suggested he was not happy, as he shouldn't be. Whatever he said at half-time seemed to swing it back for Spurs, and they came out in a much kind of more, I think, aggressive and proactive way of playing, I think was the key thing. And across the game, they won the majority of duels on the pitch, 57 to City's 44, coming out on top of 56% of the ground duels, 62% of the aerial ones. The stats elsewhere were kind of quite similar. Spurs had 11 shots, City 12. Spurs had 6 on target, City 5. In all, Spurs had all 11 shots inside the box. City had 8 inside the box, and Spurs played 529 passes to Guardiola's men's 416, and they had 27 touches in the opposition box, with City having 29. When it comes to the two goalkeepers, Vicario had 4 saves to make in the first half. Edison across the game had to make 6 saves. All 6 obviously were from shots inside the box, and probably the best ones were Sonny's low shot from Johnson's cross, the Danso looping header in the first half as well. But there were other kind of moments when, like, Pat Matasar had a shot. He was teed up by, I think it was Odobert, maybe teed him up. No, that wouldn't make sense. He wasn't still on the pitch. So it could have been, I think it was Djed Spence, I think. So it was Sonny or Djed Spence, I can't remember who it was now. But either way, Sarr had a shot that looked like he'd sliced it, but then kind of people were starting to write that, and I said to reporters, it's a Spurs throw. He's not sliced that out, otherwise it wouldn't be a Spurs throw. And you kind of watch it back on the replay, and I can't remember who it is, someone gets a header away from goal. So there are lots of little moments like that as well. And various little moves that just failed in the final pass right in front of goal. But yeah, ultimately it all came down to one goal, and that was the City goal, which was a deflected pass. Oh, knocking my little thing there. There you go. You get to see my little. That sounded weird. My little notes on my little second screen that I have to refer to every so often there. Behind the curtain. Although I almost knocked the entire camera setup over, which would have been a disaster. Especially 17 minutes in, I probably would have had to start again. But I don't care about you seeing the top of the little tablet that I use to do my notes. Ultra professional, as always. What was I talking about? The goal. The goal itself, yes. Doku, who absolutely destroyed Porro in the first half. Porro actually dealt better with him in the second half, but it kind of, the damage was all pretty much done, because you could just see every time he went at Porro. And again, it kind of begs the question, would Spence have done better with him, with the pace he's got? I think he said on Instagram under a Doku post, something like we'll meet next time or something, as if to say I wasn't there, but I'll be there to take you on next time, which I don't think you read too much into it, but I would have been intrigued to see how Spence dealt with him compared to Porro, with that extra bit of pace and that. I don't know. It's all speculation, isn't it? We just kind of guess. You could imagine he would be dealing with it much better, as he has kind of done well with the likes of Mbeumo, Salah, and everything down the left. Could he on the right have done as well? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out next season. But yeah, so Johnson gets a touch to Doku's ball across, and of course the little touch sends it straight to Haaland, who tucks it home first time. Of course, at the end of the game, where that little weird kind of flurry where Haaland puts the ball in net again came from a Porro mistake, giving the ball away. Haaland puts it in the net. Referee gives a handball. VAR takes an age to look at it and eventually decides, no, can't really find enough evidence to say otherwise. It's a tough one. I looked at it and all the different angles that VAR was showing, and there was a part of me that kind of felt like it maybe didn't come off him, and it'd come off like Spence's shoulder and all this sort of stuff, Archie Gray's shoulder and all this sort of stuff. But ultimately, I kind of agree there's not enough evidence to suggest that it definitely was a goal. So, yeah, I guess it stays in that. But then literally Spurs get the ball straight back from that. it's knocked up. I think Damso knocks it up the pitch. It's flicked on. Porro hits a great ball into the box. Sonny kind of tries to flick it behind him. It hits his back. And I think it just then goes slightly above where Sarr wanted it. And Sarr heads it over the bar with almost the last action of the game. I think Spurs would have deserved it on the balance of the second half play. I think all the stats show that as well. They would have deserved a point. But it was just, such a shame. It was just so unfortunate. But then I guess had the ball come in and Son hadn't touched it at all, it's probably coming at a completely different height for Sarr. I don't know. Because I think it's very difficult to say that Sonny kind of prevented Sarr getting it in, because it could have come at like waist height, which is as difficult really. But yeah, a mad little end to it. And it just felt like there was that end bit with the cross coming in was one of numerous near misses Spurs had. The final ball, like I say, Odobert slid another terrific Porro cross just wide at the back post. Doggy and Tell raced away together on a break after Doggy won the ball back. And just the last pass from Doggy to Tell was cut out. And it was should have been an equaliser at that point as well. That was early second half. Postecoglou said, first half, we were just a little bit too eager to get forward with the ball. I thought we were really wasteful. And when you are like that against City, it allows them to get into a rhythm of their game. They can pick you off at different times, and we just didn't handle that part of the game well. They scored and had a couple of good chances to get further ahead, but I certainly felt second half we dominated the game and the territory. We were pretty relentless, much better with the ball and a lot calmer, but just missing a goal and ultimately fell short. Yeah, he did. He looked like he was getting more and more frustrated with each kind of miss or missed opportunity. Timo Werner came on late in the game. And he had a moment when he got the ball wide on the left. And rather than really going for it directly and trying to put a ball across, it kind of stopped, turned inside and played this dreadful short pass that was cut out, and City kind of swept away with it. Postecoglou was not happy, it's fair to say. He kind of was pointing across the pitch at him, like kind of where he wanted it to go, shouting at him, and then turned to his kind of coaching staff in a bit of disbelief. It was not good. I mean, the Werner substitution was probably the main misstep in terms of the subs for me. I thought all the other subs came on and did pretty well. And I'd asked about Werner actually on Tuesday, because you just see him in all the training videos. So I kind of said, has he been available and just not getting in the squad because it's a bit stronger now in the matchday squads? And he said, no, he was available for the Ipswich game, but because of Ben Davies being out, he wanted to have Reguilon on the bench. He obviously decided otherwise in terms of being able to put another attacking player in there last night. But yeah, Werner. It's just, I guess the thinking maybe is that at the Etihad, that final goal, Werner comes on, plays a great ball across to Johnson to kind of seal the win. So maybe he's thinking, okay, his experience, he's done that in the last game against City, maybe it will work for him. But yeah, it didn't work. I feel like every time he's getting an opportunity at the moment, Werner, he's just chucking it away. He's essentially slapping the hand, spitting on the hand, saying, no, thank you, I do not want this opportunity, I'm not going to take it. I felt like that was a moment for Dane Scarlett. In my humble opinion, I did feel like that. I felt like Matisse Tell was not having a great game, struggling a little bit with the physical aspect of it. Dane has started to work on that and looked quite good with the physical aspect. So, I mean, the headed kind of knock-on for Kulusevski at Ipswich was all because of physicality and able to get up and win a header. And I did feel that was a harsh on him not to bring him on in that moment. It didn't work for me at all. And bearing in mind the last time he played at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, Dane Scarlett, in front of that big South Stand, he'd scored and got an assist in that Europa League game against Elfsborg. I know it's a different opposition, but I just felt it didn't feel like the right move in that moment. And look, Werner's not registered to play against Alkmaar next week. He was obviously taken out of the squad to fit Tell in. Maybe there's a bit of thinking there. We need to start getting him some minutes because we might need him in the Premier League. But it didn't work for me. I thought that was, you know, a decision that Postecoglou made that wasn't a great one for me. And I know it's with hindsight, but oh yeah, it reminds me of Dane Scarlett and the assist for Kulusevski. I asked about Dane, along with a Werner question and something else that's gone out of my head on Tuesday, and I said to Postecoglou, I just essentially said, how important was that for him to get that, you know, good assist with the kind of the flicked on header and all that at a ground, Portman Road, where he really struggled on loan, you know, had a difficult time. And also, like, what's he made of his development? And he said all this nice stuff about Dane, and at the end of it, he just kind of went, oh yeah, and by the way, as an aside, assists are like the worst, most meaningless stat ever. He's like really launched into assists. And I get it to a degree. I think, yes, there are definitely some assists that are like don't really mean too much in the grand scheme of things. I should stress, he had this like rant about assists and then said, but Dane's was a good one. And I think he said similar about Sonny in the embargo section afterwards. But yeah, I get it in terms of, yes, like Jan Vertonghen's assist for Sonny's Puskás goal was not the most important assist in the world. And yes, there are many times when a player will just like knock it sideways and you kind of think, okay. But there are a lot of assists that are important. And I also think being in a position to make an assist is important as well. And like Dane's one, and I know he said it was a good one anyway, but that, although it's in his own half, it's a big moment. It's a crucial moment in the move. You know, he has to win that header. He gets a whack on the head, sets Kulusevski away to then go run and score. Go wrong. So yeah, it kind of felt like a little bit of a rant for not really much reason. And hasn't it come just when Sonny's become like the record assist maker or something as well? I don't know. He just decided that I think he wasn't having it as a thing. But you know, what about the pre-assist? The pre-assist, I think, is an important one as well. There's so many times when people play an important part and it's not recognised. But then if you recognise pre-assist, you've got to recognise the little kind of tiny touches that don't really mean too much within a move, but happen to lead to the assist and then the goal. I don't know where I'm going with that. But yeah, I just thought it was a bit of a weird one. I saw some people kind of really saying, oh, spot on, he's right. And some people thinking, okay. That's kind of more, I was like, so, okay, Ange, yep, fair enough. So yeah. Werner, though, back to Werner, clearly just isn't doing the job right now. And there's no real excitement when he comes on the pitch. One player that there is a lot of excitement with, like the segue there, do you? Hey. I didn't, so I don't even know where I was going about it. But Wilson Odobert. Thought Wilson Odobert. Second half, especially first half, there were a few like he's not tracking back particularly well. He's got to work on that side of his game. There were a few times when Udogie was left exposed, and they just kind of passed around him in a triangle, and Odobert was kind of leisurely trying to keep up. But he did, I feel, as the game wore on, grew into it, and that's a big thing. Obviously, it's just mad that was his second start. It was his first start since September, which is just crazy. It just shows how fragmented his season has been. You know, £30 million from Burnley, and I think he's only started like 3-4 games. It's just crazy. And especially as he's clearly is a real talent as well, and you could see that second half. First half was a bit rusty, a bit tentative going forward, but whatever was said to him at half time, just the shackles came off, and he came out flying out of the traps. He got 22 minutes or so in the second half, and Matthias Nunes just couldn't deal with him. He just didn't know which way he was going to go, because that's the beauty of Odobert. He can go past you to the touchline and pull the ball across, or he can cut inside and have a shot. He had that effort, he slid wide at the back post. He had another one where he kind of jinked inside, did this really nice run, and then his shot was deflected wide at the right-hand post. Just every time he was on the ball, everyone inside the stadium got really excited, and you could just see that. And he had confidence that he was going to get past his man with ease. And Postecoglou loves him. You can tell he loves him. He said after the game, I thought he was great. It was important tonight that him, Destiny and Brennan got some minutes. Again, it's one thing to get guys back from injury, but we have got to get them up to speed as quickly as we possibly can. You could see Wilson hasn't played for a while, but you could also see the quality that he has. I think he grew into the game in the second half, and I think he was a big catalyst at the beginning of the second half when he was running at the opposition. He's an exciting player, and if we can manage him through this period and get him to a really decent level of fitness, I'm sure he'll help us finish the season strong. Yeah, and he's probably a little bit ahead, not ahead, but yeah, I guess he is ahead of where we kind of expected. There was a kind of a feeling among the staff, would we see him again this season after the surgery? Would he just kind of come back towards the end and play a little part? But to be back in February, to have got a couple of appearances from the bench and then to get your first start 3 games in, they've been careful with him. He was out in the grass for a while in terms of his training at Hotspur Way. Then he was involved with quite a bit of full training with the team, and then they they felt with the advice of all the staff and everything, sports science, medical, all combined, like, okay, feels like this is right now. And he's responded well, and thankfully we're saying this, it doesn't look like he's lost any of the acceleration, which is a big thing. When fast players have hamstring injuries, you just worry, and I think they worry about whether they're going to do something, and it just naturally brings this caution to the game. I saw it with Seth so many times, he wouldn't take his man on. It's such a shame. Although, delighted to see another one coming back from surgery. He's kind of back at it now. He scored, didn't he, the other night? And put that under the list of things you love to see. I really hope he can get his career back on track. But yeah, Odobert looks very exciting again. It's just going to be about end product with him. He's got so much ability. He's got so much unpredictability. That's what I love, and I think that's what oppositions find a nightmare, because he can just go any which way and do whatever he likes with it. But there needs to be more in the final third. His stats show that. I think he's played something like 74 games, senior games. He's got about 9 goals and 7 assists. And yes, look, let's be honest, he was 17 and 18-year-old and 19-year-old through some of that. He is now 20. But I do feel like that's the next step for him, is to get that end product. He wasn't the only young player that showed loads of confidence as well. I thought Archie Gray really grew into the game. Again, he's dealing as a midfielder, an 18-year-old midfielder playing as a centre-back. He is dealing with Erling Haaland, one of the best strikers in the world, who is a massive physical presence as well. And I felt he got better and better and better in his dealing with him. Of course, there was the late moment, but that came from an absolute mess up by Porro. But other than that, Haaland didn't really have too much of a sniff after half time, really. First half, I kind of felt like Kevin Danso was the one who looked a little bit more kind of inconsistent. He had a couple of switching off his brain moments. Mostly they came from trying to push forward and trying to do the right thing. But then, even for the goal, I felt like he managed to get back in position, but maybe wasn't that switched on when he got in there, and that just left Haaland completely unmarked, albeit from a deflected ball, but still kind of gave him too much room. It was a shame because he did pretty well other than those little moments. He was quite physical, he went in for some really good challenges. Actually, James Maddison went in for some really good challenges, and also did the cliched, I'm going to try and do a rugby tackle on you to get a yellow card to stop a move. Not to try and get a yellow card, but to stop a move, and he did. I thought Maddison was pretty good in that respect yesterday, battling wise. But yeah, Gray played well. Lucas Bergvall, he's getting more and more confident with every passing game. It was so many times yesterday he was up against Kovacic, and he just had the ball, and it's like, he ain't going to beat you. And he just strolled by him with a little kind of burst of acceleration. I think he said maybe in his interview afterwards that he's kind of surprised himself. He's got a little bit more pace than he actually thought he had. And that could be the extra training they're doing at Spurs. The various things he's doing has probably added a little element of acceleration to his game. Because isn't that what they say? That you can't train speed, but you can train that first little bit of acceleration, apparently the explosive kind of energy at the start. And maybe that's what he's getting with kind of, I don't know whether he has, but maybe bigger kind of muscles that spark that. Whether it's thigh muscles, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, he just was another. The other thing is his strength. His strength and his confidence growing. He won 7 of his 11 ground duels, won 1 aerial duel as well. And it's impossible to drop him right now. Not that I think Postecoglou has any intention of doing so, because he is a proactive player. He is a doer. He's a forward thinker. He is a to dare is to doer. He looks to get the ball forward quickly, and he looks to break the lines, whether it be with his dribbling or his passing. He made so many runs yesterday that people didn't pick out. You know, he was looking for 1-2s all over the place that people like Porro weren't finding. He's doing so well right now, and he's keeping his Basuma out of the team. He's keeping Pat Matasara out of the team, and really rightly so. He looks excellent. Bear in mind, he's only turned 19 this month. Absolutely mad. In terms of others, Johnson, again, another one of those performances that kind of warmed up as it went on. I think the 90 minutes will do him a huge favour. Should have had an assist. You know, Sonny, he put the ball across to Sonny, which I just kind of feel like maybe Sonny was trying to guide it rather than just get his foot through it. It was good. It was good movement from both of them. But just, yeah, you know, forced Ederson into a low save. And what else did Johnson do? Oh, he tried to tee up Maddison. He got in a really good position, tried to tee up Maddison. Also, for that Son effort, he did a really nice bit of, I think he nutmegged and ran through. But, yeah, he tried to tee up Maddison just at the last minute. Kulusevski, I think, thought the pass was for him and just got his toe to it, and it knocked it away from all of them. But yeah, I wouldn't say it was amazing. Johnson, I wouldn't even say he was particularly good, but he did warm up as the game wore on, and I think he just needs sharpness now and fitness. Who else? Matisse Tell. Just a tough day at the office. Again, it's the pace and the physicality of the Premier League. It's a big change. It really is. I think people forget he's 9. Oh, I think I'm having problems with this little stand that is on. Look at that. Look at that. That is really professional. It just keeps tipping over. Don't know what's happening there. Oh, well. It is. It's not working. It's not working, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, it's fine. I'm going to take it off this. Sorry, you're going to get a click now to take that off. But it's just constantly falling over, and that's of no help to anyone, and it looks a bit weird. And actually, by taking it out of the way, I've made the light now that's behind the camera really bright. So apologies that now, like, ooh, having loads of light. I think it's because my phone has refocused. This has been a bit of a disastrous one. This, if a video was the first half for Tottenham against City, it's this video. Look at this. It's like I've got a weird, massive light on my face now. I think I'm used to having that in front of it. But yeah. I think it was a tough day for Tell. Just the physicality of it for him. He's not there yet with that side of the game. Will he ever be? I don't know. But I would imagine at 19 years old, he's still going to fill out and get stronger and be able to be a focal point player as well. And, you know, people in Germany say that that's where his kind of ability lies, is to be that kind of more focal point player. More of a central attacking player. I'm having a mare. I think the stuff in my gums that was numbing up has gone to my brain. It's so light, this video, isn't it? Now, I'm sorry, anyone watching the telly is probably going to be like that, or you see no difference. I do wonder whether he'll work better in a 2, whether he'll work off of a striker like Solanke, but whether we see that a lot in Postecoglou's system, maybe not. We could later in games, but I'd imagine he'll probably play most of his time on Postecoglou as a winger. And he was asked, actually, I said earlier about Solanke, I think, would be the difference. I think Solanke in that team, with the way they played, especially in the second half, I think Spurs get a point or win that game. And he was asked afterwards about City having Haaland and how much he kind of missed having Solanke. And he said, yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to kind of get him back. Dom and Richie. And look, Matisse is working really hard, but we're asking him to do a massive job for us at this level. And he's probably one that did probably need a rest and probably does need a rest because he's come in and played every game. It'll be good to get Dom back in there. When he was playing for us, he was hard to stop, and you can see the benefit of them having Erling in their side. So hopefully Dom's not too far away. So his comment about Tell needing a rest, I think that confused a few people because they're probably thinking, well, he's only played 4 or 5 games for Spurs. Why does he need a rest? it's not so much, I think maybe he said it in the wrong way. It's not so much rest because he's absolutely shattered, although I think there is an element to that going on what I'm about to say. But I think also it's more about the risk of injury as well, because in the first half of the season, before he came to Spurs, he played just under about what would be 4 games in the Bundesliga and Champions League altogether. It's something like 3.8 if you added all his minutes up. What that would mean in 90 minutes in full games. So he barely played in the first half of the season. And then you suddenly come to Spurs and he's playing most of the minutes of the first 5 games he's been put into. First one, he came off the bench, didn't he? Second, from then on, from the second game on, he's starting every single game and he's playing in an energetic way, he's pressing and everything. So that's the issue now, is that his muscles have had very little football and suddenly they're getting loads of football. And Djed Spence will be an element of this as well. That's, why he's kind of taking, obviously he's played more games, but still, it is a case that you're just a little bit wary of suddenly asking these players to do things that their bodies haven't been used to and putting them through it. But yeah, I think that's what he meant. But people are a little bit like, what? That makes no sense. What else we got? Solanke hopefully will be back within the next 7 days. Postecoglou keeps coming out with his 7 to 10 days. It feels like he said 7 to 10 days for a few of these players for a long time. But it does genuinely feel like Romero, Van der Ven and Solanke are all going to be back in contention around this game next week. Whether it is for the Bournemouth game or whether it's for the Alkmaar away game, we'll see. There's a little part of me that wonders that if Solanke can get a little run of training in the next 4 or 5 days or so. I mean, what is there? Still 7 days from today. If he could get out there and get a run of games, run of training sessions, it's definitely numbed my brain. Then I think we might see Solanke play a decent part of the game in Alkmaar. Whether he'll start or not, I don't know. Whether it would be off the bench for like the last half hour or something, with a view to maybe starting him against Bournemouth, it could well work that way. But let's see first. We've got to see him out there and training. He's doing all these little teaser posts of soon with the hourglass like they do. And hopefully that leads to him being back, because as you're well aware if you watch these videos, I'm a big Dominic Solanke fan, and I think Spurs will look so different when he's in that team. Especially bearing in mind he was in the team and being run into the ground. Putting him back in the team when they're fresher and they've got more players to rotate and more options. Yeah, I think it's going to be very different. Mainly because that team we saw in the second half, I think that's going to be, hopefully, the Spurs team we see for the remainder of the season now. I would love it to be a more aggressive front foot team. And Postecoglou did say, you're flattened by the defeat, but in terms of the way we played and the way we went about it, it was much more like the team we want to be. And we've already shown we can do that. So there's a lesson in there for us. The first half, some of it was just, I think, enthusiasm and trying to be too aggressive with the ball. And once we settle down, and in the second half, we take that into games, then I think we'll be able to push on. This was Spurs' last chance for a little while of a full week of training, what we've got now ahead of this Alkmaar game. And then, like I say, 4 games in 11 days, and it's going to, push the squad to its fullest. And it's a squad that hopefully will be in a position to deal with that. There's going to be decisions made with some of these games, with players rested, players not playing, which we're all going to have our say on, and we're all going to say it's the worst decision ever. I can't believe you dropped him from this game. Drop him. He deserves to be dropped. But ultimately, across these 4 games, he's going to have to use almost all of the squad in a way. And look, if he's saying that this game and playing the likes of Johnson Udogie and Odobert was a way to get them in a match-sharp state for these games ahead, we'll see. We will see. But I still feel like it did feel like a bit of a missed opportunity to keep moving up that table, and keeping track with the pack above, really, and not getting just kind of left behind, I guess. But we'll see. We'll see what the next few weeks bring. Like I say, Romero, Van der Ven, and Solanke coming back is going to be huge. That is 3 massive players to have in games and the way they play. And the squad's going to start resembling what he wanted it to. So that's going to be a huge thing for him as well in terms of his options. And, yesterday, again, being able to bring on 4 substitutes and bring on a lot of quality, and then Timo Werner at the end. And it makes a huge difference for him. And it means that the Postecoglou way will last across longer periods now, because he can change half of the outfield players if he chooses to in that second half. And that's it. With the full squad, now is the time for results. It is. We've needed them before, of course, but now there's no excuses at that point. And yes, it was very much valid reasons for me. I know it's not for everyone, but those reasons are not there anymore. And the team need to start picking up the wins and finishing the season in style. That would be nice. We'd all love to go to Bilbao, but we want to first go to Alkmaar and get through that round. I shall be heading over there next week. I spoke about this before, didn't I? The whole Amsterdam experience, which hopefully will not be as scary as the last time. Hopefully the weather will be better as well, because it was rubbish last time. That's about it, really. I'm trying to think of anything else that's popped up even in the news that we can speak about. There was a piece about Daniel Levy's price tag for Spurs. I think it was Bloomberg reported Daniel Levy's price tag for Spurs, putting potential buyers off, and his insistence, this report said, of wanting to stay on and be part of that, whoever took over. It's kind of a story we've heard a lot before. There's probably nothing really you can add to that. The value of Spurs is going to be high. We know that. And all indications appear to be that Daniel Levy would like to stay on. But I don't think that's something you can guarantee. And I don't think you could allow that for any potential takeover deal in the future to be a sticking point, because that would be weird. Can you imagine the reaction from everyone? It's like, why are you trying to stop the deal by sticking around? I think it's more likely, I think I said in a previous one, that if he would stay if someone wanted him to stay on because they want to make money, I guess. But that's a whole different thing. There's that. That's it, really. Let's talk about potentially the pre-season tour this coming summer. It's one of those where we don't normally report it. We have a rough idea of kind of what's going to happen and where it's going to be, but you don't report it because at this point, and it is still the case at this point, nothing is agreed. The likelihood always was it was going to be Asia again. I'd heard a long while ago that it was likely to be a game in Hong Kong, but again, nothing officially agreed. So we'll see. I've seen a report saying that could be a North London derby against Arsenal, which will be weird, but there's that. I saw there was a report today in the Mail, I think it was Sammy Mockbell did, that potentially Spurs could pop back to Korea again. Maybe not for a game, maybe for a training camp, I don't know. I think all of that stuff's still got to be finalised. But certainly the indications for months has been that it's going to be Asia again. And Hong Kong being a potential part of that as well. But we'll see. So that's kind of it really now. Obviously, no game at the weekend. That's going to be weird. The ladies are in action. They're playing Man City. Back after their international break. I don't know whether I might do a weekend video. We'll see if there's enough to kind of talk about. If there's enough to talk about, I will. If not, I'll just let you go about your days. Have a rest from Spurs for a bit, and maybe I'll take one as well. And then we'll come back refreshed in Alkmaar next week. Talk about refreshed. I'm certainly not refreshed at the moment. The marathon efforts are continuing. I did an 18-mile run yesterday, and I destroyed myself. My right knee did not like it. I've done a couple of 17 miles, and I did an 18-mile yesterday. People saw me walking around at the stadium, members of the media, and they were like, "You just look very sore." I think what it was I did the run, came back in, had a shower, had a bit of a stretch, and then wasn't a lot of time before I had to get on a train, get to the stadium. And I think that little period of time on the train, like 35 minutes or so, in the drive to the station, just stiffened up my body, something rotten. And I was walking around the media room and up to the press box, quite frankly, as if I'd had an accident in my pants. I was walking so awkwardly and stiffly. And yeah, I'll get there, hopefully, as long as nothing fatal happens to me in the, was it 2 months? It's 27th of April, I think it is. So, yeah, 2 months ahead. If something fatal does happen to me, you can look at this video and say, hey, he called it, just like the Simpsons always do. But yeah, it's still going on. We're, I think, very close to £21,000 now for Cancer Research UK. Said Sean Connery. Cancer Research UK. I think we're £156 off 21 grand for Cancer Research UK. So that is awesome. Ecstatic about that. And it is the sole thing that is pushing me through to do this. So yeah, I'll pop the link in the comments as I always do. Sorry this hasn't been the most professional video ever. I know they're never normally the height of professionalism. But yes, I think my brain is a bit scrambled with the coming from the dentist and doing this not long afterwards. Stands going mad. And yeah, just general rubbishness in trying to pronounce words and get sentences out of this jumbled brain. But we're there now. We got to the end of it. You can go now. You're free. I'm sorry. Go off about your evening, day, whatever you're watching this. I can't even say whenever. Time to go. Maybe I just need a few days sleep. Yeah, be back. If I'm not on the weekend, it will be next Friday. It'll have to be when I come back from the Netherlands. So it could be an 8-day gap. I'm sure with it being Tottenham Hotspur, something will happen in the meantime, and we'll chat about that. But before that, as always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I shall catch you later. Goodbye.